welcome to the Hunger Trap podcast. I'm Lisa.
I'm Diana.
We're here to talk to you guys about eating disorders, disordered eating, and body image.
Yep, just a little disclaimer before we get started. We're not healthcare providers, we're not psychologists. We're just talking to one another about our personal experiences to let others know they're not alone.
And also, if you're currently seeking eating disorder treatment, just please be aware that we talk very honestly about our bodies, weight, the eating disorders. So if it's something that you feel might trigger you, just stay away from the content for now and come back when you are ready.
Okay.
Hi, Diana.
Hi, Lisa.
We had our last podcast, we had a parent coach named Una Hansen on, and I feel like we learned a whole lot about how to talk to our children about diet culture and their weight and what to say when they call themselves fat. And I learned a whole lot from that episode.
So did I. But
But
wait,
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
People have to learn about who we are
Oh
first before
no.
we always do this. Okay.
Why do you want to hear us? Go ahead. You go first this time.
Me? I'm gonna go first. Okay. So I was part of my first diet because we want to talk about why we do this podcast in the first place, and the fact that we both struggle with eating disorders, food and body issues. I was put on my first diet when I was 8 years old. I have since struggled with body image, compulsive overeating, binging. I've never been formally diagnosed. My weight has varied from what's considered normal weighted to I'm not allowed to say obesity anymore. Listen,
I think
I think
so. No,
I think I'll
no.
just yeah. So I mean, if we're going to talk about classifications or medical classifications, my body has ranged from normal BMI to morbidly obese throughout my life. So I've been struggling with that basically since I was 8 years old. I'm no longer 8 years old.
And I had anorexia for many years from the time I was probably like 11 or 12. It kind of took a couple of different forms at some, when I was very young, there was some binge eating involved, but for the most part, it's been restricting food. And I've been in recovery for it for like 20 years. And I still feel in many ways like I'm still in recovery for it. And I think some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is really going to drum home why I feel like, and this might be controversial to some people, but why I feel like an eating disorder doesn't just, you can't really cure it. I mean, maybe some people can, and I'm super happy for them. But personally speaking, it's not something I've ever been able to cure. It's something that I've had to live with and kind of like fight back at times.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we met, we went, Diana and I went to the same high school. We grew up in the same neighborhood in New York, out in Queens, New York. And then we actually live in the same neighborhood now, different neighborhood now, um, and not planned. We didn't really speak until like 5 years ago, and then we just started chatting one day and realized we have so much in common, and the eating disorder we have in common too.
Yes.
So
So,
yeah, so that's why we're here, wanting to talk honestly and candidly about these eating disorders in a
yep.
way that we hope if you're out there struggling with some of the same things, you feel like less alone, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, yes. And I feel like so this episode is going to be a little different than how we usually do things. Think we're usually a little bit more scripted, but
We have
you
no
know,
outline.
we have no outline. It
We
is
have
Christmas.
coffee.
It's
I
Christmas Eve morning for us.
Yes.
It's my son's second birthday also.
Yay.
And we got coffee, and I just feel like this is a good like end of the year chat where we're going to just kind of reflect on what we've done thus far. I mean,
Yeah.
so this is our sixth episode, which I'm kind of like, whoa. But I feel like on our journey thus, so far, I feel like things have come up for me and things have come up for you that are letting us know that I mean, I don't think I'm in recovery. I'm really not. I feel like a raw nerve
Mm.
with my issues right now, and I could talk a little bit more about that later, but I feel like, especially last week, talking about how to help our children, because I think one of the things you and I struggle with is like, oh gosh, we really don't want our children to suffer the same way we do. Probably every parent feels that way.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like, we certain things have popped up for us, and this was a good time to kind of like talk about it in a nice unscripted.
Why don't we just dive into that first?
All right, let's go. You go.
So a couple of days ago, this is so raw as well. A couple of days ago, we got an email from somebody that Diana knows who we're super excited to be interviewing like next week or the week after. He's a professor, and he's very knowledgeable about the way, tell me if I'm saying this right, Diana, but like the way women's bodies have been viewed throughout history, right?
Right. So
And
yeah, so he's an anthropologist by training, and he teaches, and we're going to talk to him about you know women, bodies and culture, and in different cultures around the world and different time periods around the world, right? So
yeah, so he sent us a few things to look over, and one of the things he sent us was a documentary. It's about 10 years old, maybe a little more, called Super Skinny Me, and it takes place in the UK. And I just kind of turned it on because I felt like us is a documentary. What's the harm in a documentary? And it follows two women who are trying to get down from whatever size they are. I think it's like a size 12. It's like, which is, I don't even know if they're using UK or US sizes.
they're
I'm not
using
sure.
you yeah, they're using UK sizes, and I think a size 12 UK is about a size 8 in the United States. But also, when you think about sizes, like the person's height and body structure is going to
Yes.
really, change what that really means. And there's been like memes where you've seen like a whole bunch of women who are a United States size 12 standing next to each other, and some of them look really thin and some of them look a little rounder, and it's.
But needless to say, neither one of these women needed to lose a single pound by medical standards, right? Like, no doctor would look at them and be like, you need to lose weight. They were
No.
fine. So it was purely for vanity purposes that they were trying to get down to not even a size 0, but a size double 0, which I
So
didn't
they
even know
were
existed.
they were investigative journalists. So this
One
was
was,
done
right? Were they
under
both investigative journalists or
I, bel
one?
I believe they both were, and it was done under the guise of investigative reporting, which I'm like, as I'm watching this, I'm like,
I was like, this is
like,
bullshit. It made me
yeah.
so angry. So angry. I would have loved to have that excuse to, oh, I'm just, gonna do this liquid diet. Full bullshit, right? But whatever. Maybe,
Hmm.
let me not put words in these women's mouths. Maybe they had that intention, right?
Right.
But so, I'm watching this documentary, and as I'm watching it, it's like a car crash that I can't look away from, and I'm realizing slowly I should not be watching this documentary because 15 minutes in, I see like maybe it was a little longer, 20 minutes in or whatever. One of the women, first of all, the women are subsisting on a ridiculously low amount of calories, like less than 500, I think. It was just insane. Like, it's just crazy. And they were bringing, one woman was like bringing her little salad to a dinner party, which is like, just stay the fuck home. What are you doing? And like, the best thing about the documentary was her boyfriend, who looked like he was ready to just like hightail it out and go find like the nearest woman who eats to go hang out with. He was just like beyond done with her. But in this one scene, this woman tries on a pair of jeans, and like the narrator is like, this pair of 00 jeans that should fit a 6 or 7 year old. I'm like, that's crazy. That's wild that a grown woman would want to fit a size, that fits a child. But like, her like crowd of friends are like around her watching as she zips it up, and the camera is panning to like her fingers as she zips up the zipper. And I was like, holy shit, I am triggered, and I hate that word, and I never thought it would apply to me because I like to think that I need to be like stronger than all the triggers in the world. But I was beyond triggered by that whole scene, watching those numbers, and I stopped watching the documentary, and I just told Diana, I was like, look, I can't, this is not going to be for me. You need to watch this if you can handle it and tell me what you think about it.
And my response to you was my usual response to you: welcome to your humanity,
Yeah,
Lisa.
I know, but it's
I,
years after, really years after I've been triggered by anything. So I didn't think that those triggers would apply to me anymore. I thought I was beyond them. And what I started to
oh,
find happening was it's sneaky, your eating disorder, because it it catches up on you. It's very sneaky because That night at dinner, I forgot what we ate, but and by the way, my oven has been broken for like 4 weeks, so we've been subsisting on like takeout shit. And so I forgot whatever the hell we ordered, and I just put like a little less of it on my plate. And then I realized I was like not going to eat the spaghetti part of the dinner. I was only going to eat like the protein part. So I started to see over like the course of maybe 2, 3 days that I was slowly changing and restricting and adding in an extra 10 minutes of exercise to my routine and like really pushing myself and feeling like I needed my muscles to hurt. And a couple of days after this happened, I just sat down with my husband and I said, "Look, this is what's going on. I'm noticing that I'm restricting a little more. I almost ordered the avocado toast for dinner, knowing damn well that's not like a proper dinner for a grown up, right? Like it's just not for me, at least for my height and my size." And he was like, "Okay, what are you going to do about it?" Because this is not his first time at the rodeo. And I said, like, "I'm calling my therapist tonight, and we're going to talk about this. I'm gonna chat with her about this." Like, so I just want to stress how important it is to know that, like, no matter how long you've been in recovery, these triggers can just like, you don't even know what's triggering you until it triggers you.
Oh, well. I mean, I knew that you were struggling with this, particularly when you were watching it. You had reached out to me, and but I didn't know that the subsequent things, the avocado toast, the adding time to your workout,
It's
that was going
embarrassing.
on.
It's
No,
embarrassing.
listen, I get it, and I understand being embarrassed, but thank you so much for A, being honest with us, B, being honest with yourself about it, and C, knowing that you had to talk to your therapist. Like that, to me, like I know you're saying, like, recovery is a lifelong thing, but look at the steps you took to take care of yourself. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. But like it's scary to me to think that I've been in recovery for so long. It's the only reason why I think I have a therapist's, voice in my head telling me, "Whoa, hold on a minute." But there's so many people who don't have that. They don't
No.
have that voice in their head. It's very scary. You can take it to a very scary place very, very quickly. And there's one more thing I want to add because I find it interesting about this. And I think it busts one of the biggest myths about eating disorders and certainly about anorexia. As I was watching this episode with this woman zipping on her jeans, and let me say, this is not to put down any naturally skinny woman who is naturally a size zero. You are what you are. This is not a put down. But you know how we all find different aesthetics appealing, right? We all have our own ideas about what we find beautiful, and that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
As I was watching her, there was no part of me that was thinking that looks beautiful. And in fact, my idea of a beautiful female form is actually way fleshier and way bigger than the size I was looking at. I wasn't There was no part of me that wanted that because I thought it looked good. I wanted that because I remembered eh, like how good it felt not to eat. I know that sounds wild. How good it felt to feel it feels safer in some way in the mind of someone who has anorexia. It just feels safer and more comfortable always to have less in you than enough in you, or certainly more in you, more food in you. So this whole myth that like anorexia is about looking like a beautiful, skinny, gorgeous model, it's really got so little to do with that. And I'm speaking personally, I can't speak for everybody. But I found that very interesting that like I was telling myself, I'm like, you don't even think this is not even what you want. What's going on? It right? It's just like a thing that I don't know, like an impulse that you have to kick back.
Oh, see, and I wanted that. So I watched the full documentary, right?
Hmm.
And what I got out of it was, wow, this like horrible, punishing, drinking protein shakes a day and only eating about 800 calories and working out an hour has been prescribed to me by more than one healthcare provider
Mm.
to change my body. So I'm like sitting there like, wow, I did what these women are talking about. And during the documentary, they talked about how hard it was and how they felt exhausted and they couldn't focus on anything except food and they felt depressed and isolated and sick and sad. They talked about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. The thing was, I was doing what they were doing and I was a size 12 to 14. Um, I had just lost like 120 pounds and I was drinking protein shakes and I was running 25 miles a week to maintain really a fat body. Um and it's soul crushing because from like my crazy disordered spot, although I guess maybe the word crazy is not the right word to
I
use,
used
but
it before too, and I have to say I'm sorry. I try to stay away from using that word as well.
yeah,
It's
I
hard. We're children of the 80s. We fuck up all the time with this stuff, but we're
yes.
we're trying.
But yeah, from my disordered perspective, I was looking at these women and thinking about how it's so unfair that I was doing the same thing they were doing and I was in a size 12 or 14 and they managed to get to a double zero. What's wrong with me?
But how did you feel? Did you feel the way they felt, like shitty all the time?
Yes,
And
I
yet your
all I
doctor
could
was telling you to do this.
well, I was eating about 1,000 calories a day and when my weight loss stalled out,
Mm.
I was told to go back down to 800. I started at it. So basically, I was on a medically supervised diet because I had had a vertical sleeve gastrectomy. And this is, I'm struggling a lot with both the documentary, but then also just all of the anti-diet health at every size things too, because the truth of the matter is when I was at my heaviest weight, I was not healthy.
Right.
I had medical issues related to my larger body and the diet that I was eating, and it was only through extreme restriction that I got my blood levels down to where they were supposed to be. But I'm also in a situation where, because I was put on my first diet when I was 8 years old, and I went through a lot of restriction through my formative years, my thyroid tanked out when I was 20 years old. Like, it basically barely functions. I have to take so much medication right now just to get my thyroid levels to like a normal level.
Mm.
And for me, it's like my body has been so damaged that I to maintain a pretty, if you were to look at me on the street, you would think you would be like, "Oh, this woman's overweight." In order for me to maintain that, I was eating 800 to 1,000 calories a day, 50 grams of carbs or less, and running and exercising at least 5 times a week.
So we should backtrack because you mentioned anti-diet. For
Hmm.
people who don't know what that is, well, we know what anti-diet is. Obviously, it means not promoting diet culture. But the health at every size movement, if that's the right word to use, may not be something that people are familiar with. So I'm gonna try and let's try to explain it together because this is all kind of new to us too. From
Hmm.
my understanding of it, it's a movement that uh, that is based on the idea that finding your body's ideal weight is a very personal thing. Unlike so in diet culture, in typical diet culture, you're told that like, here's what you do to lose 40 pounds. You follow this very specific diet, right?
And here's the weight range you should be for your height.
Yes, right. And here are the foods you eat, here are the foods you don't eat, and there's like it's like a prescription, like a doctor would give you a prescription, like there's one medication for everybody. But health at every size is very different in that it's more of a personalized approach to maintaining the weight, not really weight loss, but maintaining and finding the weight, finding and then maintaining the weight that is your body's natural weight, like where your body really wants to be, right? Am I
Yeah.
missing anything?
No, I think you're right. And the problem is that because of all the damage that I've done to my body over the years, my body wants to be at a very high weight. And I'm
Right.
not comfortable here. I'm not. I don't like the idea that I won't be able to fit in airplane seats. I don't like the idea that people look at me on the street and think that I'm stupid, lazy, have no self-control, um, and think all these terrible things about me. Like it's, you know,
Right.
it's I'm struggling with health at every size and anti-diet because at least in the social media posts that I'm seeing, everybody is a relatively small white woman smiling at me with a plate of cinnamon rolls. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, where are the women who look like me who are smiling with the weight of cinnamon rolls? Like, is health at every size true? Is it really every size or every acceptable size in our society? And, fuck the fatties. Like that's the
Right, right.
I don't like I'm just kind of like I'm really struggling.
So we started this Instagram page not long ago, and that's, I think, a lot of these conversations we're having have evolved from checking out a lot of people's accounts. And a lot of them are super inspiring. Look, like there's something incredibly inspiring to me about seeing somebody talk about feeling good in your body no matter what your weight is and eating whatever the hell you want. And now that the holidays are here, there are a lot of posts about like, what should you restrict this Christmas? Absolutely nothing. Eat all the candy canes. I mean, they don't say eat all the candy canes, but like the idea is eat whatever the fuck you want and your body, trust your body. Your body will know when you are finished eating those foods, right? Like the whole idea is like trust your body.
I don't trust my body.
I
Do you
don't
trust
trust my
yours?
body. I shouldn't trust my body. My body lies to me constantly because I've brainwashed it from an early age to like not to pretend I don't like certain foods to the point where I don't crave them anymore. I don't want them anymore. And that's unusual for people. People are like, these Instagram pages with like a lot of the like anorexia recovery pages are filled with food and like have you seen them where like like we're
Yes.
following a few of the accounts and like
Yes.
I'm not here to put down anyone's efforts, anyone's account. You do what works for you, and obviously these people have thousands of followers. It's working for a lot of people. But for me, when I look at some of these accounts and all I see is one picture after another of these perfectly these foods, like they look so pristine set up in these plates, there's not a splatter of sauce anywhere. Like everything is just, it's like anorexia style photography. Everything is just perfect, right? Um, it
Mhm.
just reminds me of like being a kid and looking through cookbooks at foods because and not eating them, which is something that you often do when you have an eating disorder. You become like obsessed with looking at photos of food. It doesn't really inspire me. I don't, and a lot of the foods are often quote clean foods. So like for me to look at your plate of steel cut oats with berries, in my mind, I'm like, I know that's a safe food. Like that's safe food for me. That's not a food that is a risk for me to eat. So I don't know. I don't personally feel inspired by them.
Steel cutouts are definitely not a safe food for me, who was told to avoid any sort of processed carbohydrate at
Mm,
all costs.
right.
So,
Not
you know,
even the
I
fact that they're steel cut, which is like the
mm-mm.
oh, like the saint of the oat family.
My no, my I remember my personal when I was, running, 25 miles a week and working out with my personal trainer and my weight was stalling and I wasn't losing weight anymore. Like she kept saying to me, "I really think you need to add some healthy complex carbohydrates to your diet." And I was like, "No, no, my doctor told me like no bread, no pasta, no oatmeal, no sugar, no, I mean, my indulgence was like once a month maybe eating a sweet potato."
Right. Right.
But all in the name of health because I was fat, so it was totally cool for me to be eating 800 calories because I was fat. And it's
Right.
so funny because one of my friends who is a registered dietitian, we're not very close, but she actually said to me, like, you're supposed to do that for like maybe the first 6 months to a year after your bariatric surgery, but then things are supposed to change.
You're not supposed to not have carbs ever again in your entire life.
And I'm like, no, no, no. They told me I'm not supposed to anymore, ever, 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 ever. So that was like me sitting in France. By the way, pregnant, didn't know I was pregnant. So I had pregnancy hormones thrown on top of
Ugh.
like me sitting in France watching people eat pain au chocolat and bread. And I'm like sitting there like, nope, you're not allowed to eat this because you're
Oh.
fat. So fuck
Oh
you.
man, it's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. Nope, you're different. And I can't help but shake that feeling of like, yeah, you're different because get who else wakes up over 300 fucking pounds one day and is like, oh, I can't fit through a goddamn doorway or
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's a really hard. I feel like everything I'm saying in this episode is so triggering, and oh my god, I'm so
Well,
sorry,
I
everybody.
I
But like,
really think
this is
people,
my raw
yeah.
nerve.
And I
This is my
also
raw nerve right now.
I want to stop and
Sorry.
say, like, anything that I'm saying right now, and that I'm sure that Diana would agree with me, anything we're saying is not, like, if you're struggling with any of these eating disorders, please don't take what we're saying as like, what's the word I'm looking for? As like permission, right? Like, oh, well,
Hmm.
there, no, because you gotta own this. You can't like let this get the best of you. It will hurt you, it will destroy you, it will destroy your life, it will kill you. It's we're talking about this because we are facing it, right? And we're like, you gotta own your bullshit first in order to like get help for it. Um,
Yeah,
and
and I
it's
think.
yeah,
Well, I was gonna say, like, even just listening, like, to like some of the questions that people had about the parenting and how to help their children, how to maintain the healthy weight that they worked so hard to attain, but not pass along issues to their children. Like, it's so easy to turn around and say, like, oh, don't restrict, don't this, don't that. But if you haven't lived in a fat body that is constantly scrutinized and judged and doesn't move through this world easily, like, you don't know how horrible it is to really be in that situation, and how you'll fight tooth and nail to not be in that situation. But
yeah.
for me, it's just becoming a losing battle, and I can't keep being obsessed and just focused on every morsel that goes in my mouth anymore. I can't. I need my life to be bigger than that.
I think one of the things that like Una was saying last week was that I'm not direct quoting her, but she really made it clear that it's not something you can do alone, especially if you have an eating disorder. Like trying to follow a health at every size model is just not something that can be done without the help of a dietitian, right? Like it's easy enough to tell
Yes.
people just eat, but like we're trying to explain to you like the mind of somebody who is really deeply entrenched in disordered eating and eating disorder doesn't think that way. You said something that like really touched me just now, where you said like you really feel like you're different, like you're the exception to the rule. You can't eat those things. I felt like that.
Yeah.
I felt like that forever. I felt like if I allow myself to just do what I want, it's all gonna fucking fall to pieces, guys. Like I have no proof of that, but this is what my mind tells me, and this is why like I have to push myself harder than you. You can eat that, but I can't eat that.
So,
There's no basis in reality sometimes for it either. It's a fucked up mental disorder.
but for me, there is a basis in reality for that,
Mhm.
because when I quote unquote eat whatever I want, I gain to over 300 pounds.
So, but the idea behind health at every size is that you gain weight at first. No, I'm thinking of intuitive eating, aren't I? Where you gain weight at first and then you gradually lose it until your body becomes the size that it wants to be.
Right, but if my body has been so damaged over so many years of restricting and then binging, the size my body wants to be is a size that I'm not comfortable in the world in. Not because I can't wear Lucky Brand jeans, but
Yeah,
because I can't get on an airplane and
yeah,
sit in an economy seat. You see what I'm so you see
I
what the
do.
struggle is for me?
Yeah,
It's not like, "Oh, I really want to be able to buy you know, clothes at whatever, and Taylor Loft, whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah.
No, it's not that. It's like I don't want to walk into a work meeting and not be able to fit in the chair that's put at a table for me.
Which goes back to what you were saying about finding all these models who are all these spokespeople for this movement who are in smaller bodies and how that might not be helpful for everybody.
It's not, I mean, it's for me, I mean, and listen, I mean, I'll just say it on the podcast. Like, I'm going to be looking into, we're in the process of moving to another state. So, trying to track down healthcare providers who could really help me with health at every size and all that. Like, I can't do that right now, but once we land where we're moving, that's what I'm going to be looking to do, is to find the dietitian who can help me navigate through this, and find the doctor who will help me deal with the fact that, yeah, at my heaviest weight, my cholesterol's out of control and I start to become pre-diabetic, and how do we manage that but still make it so that I am not weighing out almonds
Right, right,
and having to exercise over an hour a day, not because I want to, but because I'm scared to death about being fat.
right. I will say, like, going through eating disorder treatment, dietitians are usually the last people that could become part of your program, which is astounding. I mean, they should be there from the very beginning. In my experience, the dietitian came 10 years after I started getting treatment for this disorder. So it's a disorder that is based on what you eat. Like you have to confront food every day. And yet for some reason, good luck getting your insurance company to like help you there. Like you're paying out of pocket and it's pretty expensive. So if you can't pay out of pocket, you're probably going without one. And it's so important to have somebody there who's teaching you how to eat. Because I mean, I think we've spoken about this. We don't really know sometimes even how to eat or how much to eat or what the hell to eat. It's very confusing for a lot of people in the world, but like if you have a disorder, it's especially confusing.
Hmm.
I had a dietitian work with me for 3 sessions to teach me how to eat 2 slices of fucking pizza. And I was in my 30s and I was like, just had this thing in my head that you couldn't have more than one slice. It's like, well, she was like, are you satisfied with one slice? And I pretended I wasn't. She made me like eat one slice and like really write down in my journal how I felt a few hours later. And I was fucking hungry because like one slice of pizza for my height and my body is not enough food. But these are things that like your doctor, my doctor wasn't sitting with me, my psychologist is not sitting with me. They don't have the knowledge of, I shouldn't say not all of them, but mine certainly didn't have the knowledge of nutrition or like the time to talk about that shit with me. It's incredibly important. Dietitians are so, so, so important.
It is. I mean, to me, when I just have the refrain in my head of like, pizza is not a food for somebody who's had weight loss surgery. You're not supposed to eat things like that. You
Mm,
shouldn't eat things like pizza. If you needed weight loss surgery, if your body was so out of control and so enormous that you needed weight loss surgery, you don't get to eat things like pizza.
ugh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, where do we end this?
I don't know.
We want to end on like a positive note. It is Christmas Eve.
La 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 la
La
la.
la. Well, I mean, I think like why did we want to talk about this? I mean, I just wanted to like reassure people who don't find these things like so easy to follow that it doesn't mean that you're not in recovery. It doesn't mean that you're failing at recovery. It just means that it's hard for a lot of us. Like it's hard for everyone. Let me tell you, I was talking to someone, a man. I don't know. I won't say who, which is ridiculous. You could probably figure this out. But he was telling me that at a little Christmas party at his work, one woman apparently had one slice of pizza to eat, and the following day, two women in his office were like talking shit about her. Were like just talking shit about her. And this guy says to me, like, how do these women even notice what this one woman is eating? I'm like, oh, honey, we notice what every woman is eating. Like, we're looking
Oh yeah.
around because other women are giving us permission to eat more
Mhm.
or telling us we should be eating less. It's like
Yep.
a lot of us just are walking through this world very confused about how much to eat and how to fuel our bodies. So it's not just, I think, something that's reserved for people who have like clinical eating disorders. I think this is a very confusing thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's always that thing like when you go out to dinner with a group of people, like, are you gonna get dessert? Well, are you gonna get dessert? Well, are you gonna get
Yes,
dessert? What are you gonna get to eat? When people
yes.
ask, like, what are you ordering? What are you ordering? What are you ordering?
And you
Making that
always,
mental calculation of
don't
like,
you always
can I
feel
get the
like,
burger or should I get a salad?
don't you feel like you always kind of want to like hug the person who orders dessert, especially if it's a woman? You're just kind of like, oh, I'm so happy that you exist. It's just like,
Well, for a long time that was me. I was the one who was like, listen, my fat ass is getting dessert. If anybody else wants dessert, fine.
those to me are always
Now
the happy people. The happy people get dessert.
but now I'm like, ugh, I mean, yeah, I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because, like, I have a lot of work to do myself. And this podcast has, shown a light on the fact that I have a lot of work to do still. I'm still trying to navigate this. And for me, I just want to get to a point where food and my body size is not the most important thing about me and the only thing I focus on. I have a son. I have a beautiful 2-year-old son, and I want to be present for him. And I made him a birthday cake, and
Mm.
I want to eat a piece of it with him and not be thinking about the fact that, oh, your butt's not going to fit in the seat anymore. Your butt's not going to fit in the seat anymore.
Diana's an
And I
amazing
don't want
baker.
him
Diana is
to do
actually a
that.
talented and amazing baker who like dropped off chocolate bombs at my house the other day, and she's like, "I just whipping up some chocolate bombs." Like, they look like these like artsy creations that taste amazing. And so like God, like you're making these amazing things. It's so sad if you're not like trying them. I feel the same way whenever I make something. I'm like, I know how much time now it takes to make something. It's really hard to bake. Really fucking
I
hard.
I eat it now. So since quarantine started with this goddamn coronavirus, I have been eating the things that I make, but I've gained weight. And there's this every time I eat something that's on the no-no list for me, and I'm trying to give myself permission, but I still have that guilt wrapped up in it. I'm like, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to eat a piece of the cake today, and I'm probably going to be like, well, this is why you're so fat, Diana. Like, that
Ugh.
thought will go through my head. It will.
But we're
I'm
going to be
just being
honest. We're
honest.
going to be honest and we're
Yeah.
going to navigate this together and we're going to, be honest with you guys the entire step of the way, and if something works for us, we're going to let you know. Like if I reach some kind of amazing conclusion with my therapist over this trigger, over this stupid documentary, I'm going to share it with you because maybe it will be helpful to you. But we're still kind of a mess, aren't we?
I mean, for me, I mean, I'm loving this journey that we're on together, but we're taking a very private journey and making it public, which is a little scary. But for me, what I'm really taking away from just even this conversation we're having now and everything we've done in the last 5 episodes up through this sixth episode, I'm realizing that I really need some outside support. And I do have a therapist and she's very helpful to me, but I really need somebody who is going to help me navigate health at every size, and how to really approach that. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like that is my number one goal in 2021. I Once we land where we're moving, that is going to be a focus for me.
And
So,
I'm not going to get into this to it this episode, but I've had pretty bad experiences with people. Not all, but I've had a couple of bad experiences with therapists who didn't have ED like knowledge. So I would definitely encourage you and anyone listening to like make sure that you find somebody. And it's hard because a lot of them don't take insurance, but it makes a really big difference if they have some knowledge of eating disorders.
yeah.
So we wanted to keep this one shorter than the last ones. Though a couple of our last episodes ran a bit long for us, but we should wrap it up by telling everyone about our beautiful Instagram that has like 5 pictures on it so far. We're like, what do we post today?
Well, I'll post a picture of my son's birthday cake
Do it.
because
Yes.
you know what? And I got to say, like, it's not even, and this is probably a part of my eating disorder creeping up. It's not as beautiful as I would like it to be because I happened to cut my finger as I was
Aw.
decorating it. So it's not beautiful. And I'm like, I don't want to share pictures of this. It's not beautiful. It's not perfect.
People
It's
want
a
to.
sign of my,
It's your perfectionism for sure.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Post it anyway. People want to see it.
I will.
All right.
I
So our
will.
Instagram is hunger under. What the hell is it? Underscore trap.
Hunger underscore
Trap.
is it the hunger?
No, no. We're great. All right. It's hunger underscore trap underscore podcast. That's the Instagram.
Yes.
And our Facebook is
The Hunger Trap
Andre Trap
Podcast.
Podcast. And then
And our
email. Yeah.
email. Yep. The Hunger Trap Podcast at gmail.com. And reach out.
Reach out, send us an email. Tell us what you're thinking, what you want to hear
Hmm.
about. And, if you disagree with us, we love that too. Because we're all learning. We're all willing
Right.
to learn from each other here.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of the holiday.
Yeah, you too.
See you
All right.
soon. Bye.
Good luck with your journeys. Bye.